There are promises worth dying for. This is a story about one such promise. The Texas sun beat down on Red Creek Valley like a hammer on an anvil. Summer of 1884. The drought had been going on for 3 months, turning the earth to dust and the grass to straw. In that heat, in that silence, a man could forget he was still alive. Cole Brennan had been trying to forget for 6 years. He stood in his yard hammer in one hand, fence post in the other, sweat soaked through his shirt. Salt stains marked the collar white. The work was hard, the kind of hard that kept a man's mind from wandering into dark places. But even in the heat, even with his hands busy, the memories found him. Sarah's laugh, Emma's small hand in his, the fever that took them both in the summer of '78. Cole wiped his face and kept working. The fence wouldn't fix itself. Nothing fixed itself. You just kept moving forward because stopping meant thinking. And thinking meant remembering, and remembering meant feeling the hole in your chest where your family used to be. He heard the sound before he saw anything. Footsteps, uneven, the stumbling gait of someone running on empty. Cole turned. A child was coming across the open ground from the west. Small, maybe 7 years old, thin as a rail. The child's dress was torn and dark with something that wasn't sweat. The little figure moved in a strange, broken rhythm, like a bird with a damaged wing. Cole dropped his tools. The child made it halfway across the yard before collapsing, just went down like a puppet with its strings cut. Face first into the dust. Cole ran. His boots kicked up small clouds as he covered the distance. When he reached the child, he saw it was a girl. Blonde hair tangled with dirt and leaves. Face pale beneath the grime. And blood. So much blood soaking through the shoulder of her dress. He rolled her over gently. Her eyes fluttered open. Blue-green like river stones, wide with terror. "Easy now," Cole said. His voice came out rough. He hadn't spoken to another person in weeks. "I got you." The girl tried to speak. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Her small hand grabbed his shirt with surprising strength. Tears cut tracks through the dirt on her face. Cole didn't hesitate. He'd seen enough wounded men in his time to know when someone was running out of time. He scooped her up, careful of the injured shoulder, and carried her toward the house. She was so light, like carrying a bundle of sticks. Inside the house was dim and cool. Cole laid her on his bed, the only bed in the two-room cabin. He moved fast, grabbing clean cloth water from the barrel whiskey from the shelf. His hands remembered what to do, even if his heart had forgotten how to care. The wound wasn't as bad as it looked. A deep gash across her shoulder, like someone had cut her with a knife. Not a bullet. That was something. Cole cleaned it with whiskey. The girl's body went rigid, but still she made no sound. Her teeth clenched. Her eyes squeezed shut, but not a whimper. "You're a tough one," Cole muttered as he worked. "I'll give you that." He wrapped the wound with clean cotton, tied it tight, but not too tight. His fingers moved with practiced efficiency. Years ago, before Sarah, before the quiet life, he'd patched up more bullet holes and knife wounds than he cared to remember. Some skills you never lost. When he finished, the girl's eyes opened again. She stared at him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable, like she was looking through him trying to figure out if he was safe. "You got a name?" Cole asked. She nodded, but didn't speak. "Can you write?" Another nod. Cole found a pencil and a scrap of paper. He handed them to her. Her hand shook as she took them. Slowly, carefully, she wrote 3 letters. S-A-D-I-E. Sadie. Cole read aloud. "That's a good name. I'm Cole. Cole Brennan." She wrote something else. He had to lean close to read the shaky letters. "They killed Mama and Papa." Cole felt something cold settle in his stomach. He'd seen his share of violence. The war had shown him what men were capable of. But a child writing those words, a child who couldn't even speak them, that was different. "Who did?" he asked gently. Sadie's hand moved across the paper again. "Bad men. Still coming." Cole sat back. He looked at this little girl, this stranger who'd stumbled into his life carrying death on her heels. He could turn her away, could put her on a horse and point her toward town, could wash his hands of whatever trouble she'd brought with her. That would be the smart thing, the safe thing. But when he looked at her face, he saw Emma. Not the features, but the fear. The desperate hope that someone, anyone, would help. Nobody had helped him when the fever came. Nobody could. But this was different. This he could do something about. "Nobody's dying on my porch today," Cole said. The words came out hard, final. A decision made. "You understand me. You're safe here." For the first time since she'd arrived, something changed in Sadie's eyes. Not quite trust. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. Cole stood and went to the cupboard. He pulled out a pot of stew he'd made 2 days ago, still good. He heated it over the fire, spooned some into a bowl, and brought it to her. Sadie sat up slowly, wincing at the pain in her shoulder. She took the bowl with both hands. She ate like she hadn't seen food in days. Probably hadn't. Cole watched her and felt something shift in his chest, something that had been frozen for 6 years, starting to crack. When she'd eaten half the bowl, Sadie set it aside and reached for the pencil again. This time, she didn't write words. She drew. Her hand moved quickly despite the injury. Lines appeared on the paper. A horse, a man in a black coat. Flames. A house burning. Cole studied the drawing. "That's your house," Sadie nodded. "The man on the horse. He did this—" Another nod. "You know his name." She wrote Mr. Blackwood. Cole knew that name. Everyone in 3 counties knew Jasper Blackwood. Richest man in the territory. Owned half the land and most of the water rights. Some folks said he was a shrewd businessman. Other folks said he was a devil in a fine coat. "What did he want?" Cole asked. Sadie drew more. A small object, round. A locket, maybe. She pointed at her own chest, then at the drawing. "He wanted something you have." She nodded frantically. Cole felt the pieces starting to come together. Land, money, power. That's what men like Blackwood dealt in. If this child had something he wanted bad enough to kill for, it wasn't just a piece of jewelry. "Where is it, the locket?" Sadie reached into her dress and pulled out a thin chain. At the end hung a small golden locket, tarnished but intact. She held it out to Cole. He took it carefully. The metal was warm from being pressed against her skin. He opened it. Inside was a photograph of a man and woman, young, smiling. Sadie's parents, he guessed. But there was something else. On the inside of the locket's back cover, someone had etched a tiny map. Crude, but clear. It showed Wheeler Creek, the old Wheeler Ranch, and a spot marked with an X. At the 4 corners of the map were tiny numbers 61474. Someone had engraved this permanently. Insurance that couldn't be destroyed or lost. Cole's breath caught. The Wheeler Ranch had been abandoned for 10 years, ever since Thomas Wheeler died, and his land mysteriously ended up in Jasper Blackwood's name. There'd been talk at the time. Suspicions. But no proof. Until now, maybe. "Your father," Cole said slowly. "He found something, didn't he? Something about Blackwood and the Wheeler place." Sadie's eyes filled with tears. She nodded. Cole closed the locket and handed it back to her. She clutched it like a lifeline. The afternoon sun was starting to slant through the windows. Cole had maybe 3 hours of daylight left. He needed to think, needed to plan. Blackwood's men would come. That was certain. The only question was when. He was about to say something when Sadie picked up the pencil again. This time she drew a face. His face. But with an exaggerated frown, eyebrows pulled down, comically low. Despite everything, despite the danger and the blood and the fear, Cole felt a smile tug at his lips. "I don't look that grumpy." Sadie's mouth curved up just slightly. Not quite a smile, but close. She wrote below the drawing, "You do." Then she added, "But that's okay." Cole shook his head. "I'm not good with kids. Haven't been around any in 6 years. Sadie tilted her head, questioning. "I had a little girl once," Cole said. The words came hard. He hadn't spoken about Emma to anyone. "Her name was Emma. She'd be about your age now, maybe a year older." He didn't say the rest. Didn't need to. Sadie seemed to understand. She reached out and touched his hand. Just a brief touch, but it meant something. "Sometimes the hardest thing is to keep living," Cole said quietly. "But someone's gotta." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Sadie drew again. This time it was a map. Not the one from the locket, but a different one. She sketched quickly a creek, a large rock, some bushes. She pointed at the drawing, then at herself. "That's where you were hiding." Nod. "Wheeler Creek." Another nod. Cole studied the map. Wheeler Creek was about 2 miles west of his property. Good place to hide if you were small and scared. Good place to rest if you were running. "Smart," he said. "Real smart." Sadie's eyes brightened a little. She wrote, "Papa said hide there if bad things happen." Cole felt his throat tighten. Her father had prepared her, had given her a plan. It wasn't enough to save him, but it was enough to save his daughter. A sound from outside made Cole freeze. Hoofbeats. Multiple horses. Coming fast. He was on his feet in an instant. "Get under the bed, now!" Sadie scrambled to obey. Cole grabbed his rifle from above the fireplace and moved to the window. Through the wavy glass, he could see 3 riders approaching. They rode hard, pulling up in a cloud of dust just outside his fence. The leader was a big man with a scar running down the left side of his face. He sat his horse easy, confident. The other 2 were younger, nervous. Their hands rested on their gun belts. Cole opened the door and stepped out onto the porch. The rifle hung loose in his hands, not aimed, but ready. "Help you, gentlemen." His voice was flat, showing nothing. The scarred man smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "Name's Wade Garrett. I work for Mr. Jasper Blackwood. We're looking for something that wandered onto your property." "Nothing wandered here but dust and heat." "Now, I don't think that's true." Wade leaned forward in his saddle. "We tracked a little girl this way. Blonde hair, 7 years old, injured. She stole something valuable from Mr. Blackwood. We just want it back." Cole's grip on the rifle tightened slightly. "Haven't seen any girl." Wade's eyes narrowed. He looked at the house, at Cole, at the fresh footprints in the dust leading to the door. "That's funny, because those tracks tell a different story. Maybe I had a visitor earlier. Maybe she moved on. Where'd she go? Didn't ask? Didn't care?" Wade sat back, studying Cole. The two men stared at each other across the dusty yard. The moment stretched tight. "Mr. Blackwood is a powerful man," Wade said finally. "He don't like being crossed. You're making a mistake here, old-timer." "Wouldn't be my first mistake." Cole shifted his weight, a subtle movement that brought the rifle up an inch. Just an inch, but Wade noticed. The younger men's hands twitched toward their guns. Wade held up a hand, stopping them. "We'll be back," Wade said. His voice was casual, but his eyes were hard. "With more men, you might want to reconsider your story." "I'll be here," Cole said. "Story won't change." Wade stared at him for another long moment. Then he turned his horse and rode off, the other two following. They didn't hurry. Didn't need to. The message was clear. Cole stood on the porch until they disappeared over the eastern ridge. Only then did he allow himself to breathe. He went back inside. Sadie crawled out from under the bed, her face pale. "They're gone," Cole said. "For now." He sat down heavily. The chair creaked under his weight. His mind was racing. Wade Garrett. He'd heard that name. Blackwood's tracker, the best in 3 territories. If anyone could find them, it was Garrett. They couldn't stay here. That much was clear. His little cabin couldn't withstand a siege, and Blackwood would come back with more men, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, but soon. Sadie came and stood beside him. She put her small hand on his arm and looked at him with those river-stone eyes. Cole made a decision, the kind of decision that changed everything. "We're leaving," he said, "before dark. There's a town east of here, Copper Springs. We can make it by morning if we ride through the night. There's people there, a marshal, law." Sadie nodded, trusting him. That trust felt heavy. Heavier than the rifle. Heavier than the years. Cole stood and started gathering supplies. Food, water, ammunition. He had one horse, an old mare named Dakota. She'd have to carry them both. As he packed, Sadie drew one more picture. She showed it to him when he was ready to go. It was him and her, side by side, riding a horse toward a sunrise. "That's where we're headed," Cole said softly. "Toward the light. Away from the dark." He saddled Dakota as the sun touched the western hills. The sky turned orange, then red, then purple. By the time they were ready to leave, the first stars were appearing. Cole lifted Sadie onto the horse, then swung up behind her. She leaned back against him, small and warm and trusting. He looked back at his cabin one last time. It wasn't much, just 4 walls and a roof. But it had been his refuge, his hiding place from the world. Now he was leaving it, maybe forever. But as he turned Dakota east and felt Sadie's heartbeat against his chest, Cole realized something. He'd been hiding for 6 years, waiting to die, going through the motions of living without actually being alive. This little girl had changed that. In the space of a few hours, she'd given him something he thought he'd lost forever, a reason to keep going. They rode into the darkness together. Behind them, the cabin sat silent and empty. Ahead, the night stretched vast and uncertain. But they weren't alone anymore. Neither of them. And that made all the difference. The night was vast and black. Cole kept Dakota at a steady walk, navigating by starlight and memory. The mare knew these trails better than he did. She'd been walking them for years, back when Sarah was alive, and Cole actually went places. Sadie sat in front of him in the saddle, her small body warm against his chest. She hadn't made a sound since they left. Every few minutes, Cole felt her turn her head, looking back the way they'd come, looking for pursuit. "Sleep if you can," Cole said quietly. "We got a long ride ahead." But Sadie stayed awake, watching the darkness with those wide eyes. They rode for 2 hours in silence. The only sounds were Dakota's hooves on hard earth, the creak of leather, and the endless chorus of crickets. The moon rose late, a thin crescent that gave just enough light to see the path. Cole's mind kept working the problem. Blackwood would come. Maybe not tonight, but soon. Wade Garrett had seen the tracks, had seen Cole's face when he lied. A man like Garrett didn't miss details. He'd report back to Blackwood, and Blackwood would send more men. The only question was how much time they had. As if in answer, a glow appeared on the western horizon, faint at first, then growing, orange and yellow against the black sky. Fire. Cole pulled Dakota to a stop. He stared at that distant light and felt something cold spread through his chest. He knew what was burning, knew without having to see. His cabin, his home, everything he had left of his old life. Gone. Sadie saw it too. She twisted in the saddle to look at him. Even in the darkness, he could see the question in her eyes, the guilt. "Not your fault," Cole said. The words came out harder than he meant. He softened his voice. "None of this is your fault, you hear me?" She nodded, but he could see she didn't believe it. Cole turned Dakota east again and nudged her into a trot. They needed distance. Needed to put miles between them and whoever had set that fire. The glow faded behind them as they rode. Cole didn't look back again. What was done was done. You couldn't unburn a house. Couldn't undo the past 6 years. All you could do was keep moving forward. Dawn found them in the hills east of Red Creek Valley. The sky turned gray, then pink, then gold. Cole pulled Dakota into a stand of cottonwoods near a creek and dismounted. His legs were stiff. His back ached. He wasn't as young as he used to be. Sadie slid down after him. She stumbled when her feet hit the ground, catching herself against Dakota's flank. The mare turned her head and nuzzled the girl gently. "Let's rest here," Cole said. "Water the horse. Get our bearings." The creek was clear and cold. Cole filled his canteen while Sadie knelt beside the water and splashed her face. She looked better in the morning light. Some color had returned to her cheeks. The terror in her eyes had settled into something more manageable. Cole pulled out some jerky and hardtack from his saddlebags. Not much, but enough. He handed half to Sadie. She ate slowly, watching the creek. After a while, she pulled out her pencil into paper. The paper was getting worn now, creased and dirty. But she smoothed it out and started to draw. Cole watched her work. She drew the creek first, then the cottonwoods, then 2 figures, one tall, one small, both sitting by the water. She added something else. A third figure, smaller, transparent. A ghost. The ghost was holding the tall figure's hand. Cole felt his throat close up. He knew who that ghost was. "Emma liked to draw too," he said. His voice came out rough. "I'd mend fences or work with the horses, and she'd sit in the dirt with a stick making pictures. Sarah used to say she had an artist's eye." Sadie looked up at him. "Sarah was my wife," Cole continued. It felt strange to say these words out loud. He'd kept them locked inside for so long. "We met during the war. After it ended, we came out here, built a life, had Emma. For a while there, I thought I had everything a man could want." He paused, staring at the water. "Then the fever came. Summer of '78. It was a bad one that year. Took folks all over the territory. Sarah got sick first. I rode 40 miles for a doctor. By the time I got back, Emma was burning up too." Sadie's hand found his. She held on tight. "I buried them on the hill behind the house," Cole said. "Side by side. Put markers up. For 6 years, I've been going up there talking to them, telling them about my day, asking them questions I knew they couldn't answer." He looked at Sadie. "I thought I died with them. Thought the rest was just going through the motions, waiting for my turn." Sadie shook her head firmly. She picked up the pencil and wrote, "Not dead. Here with me." Then she drew more. Cole and Sadie on a horse, moving away from flames, moving toward a town with buildings and people. She wrote at the bottom, "Family isn't blood. It's who shows up." Cole stared at those words. A 7-year-old girl who couldn't speak had just said something wiser than anything he'd heard in years. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I guess you're right about that." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. The sun climbed higher. The heat started to build. Cole knew they should move, but he let the moment stretch. These quiet times were rare, precious. Once they reached Copper Springs, everything would get complicated. Finally, he stood. "We should go. Still got maybe 15 miles to town." Sadie nodded and gathered her things. But before Cole could lift her back onto Dakota, she held up one finger. "Wait." She knelt by the creek and found a flat stone. Using a smaller rock, she scratched something into it. When she was done, she showed it to Cole. She'd carved 2 names, Emma and Sarah. Then she placed the stone carefully at the base of one of the cottonwoods, a small memorial, a way of saying they were remembered. Cole felt something break inside him, something that had been holding on too tight for too long. Tears burned his eyes. He didn't try to stop them. Sadie hugged him, just wrapped her thin arms around his waist, and held on. Cole hugged her back, this strange, brave girl who'd walked into his life and cracked it wide open. "Thank you," he whispered. They stood like that for a long moment. Then Cole wiped his eyes, cleared his throat, and lifted Sadie onto Dakota. "All right," he said, swinging up behind her. Let's get to Copper Springs. They rode out of the cottonwoods and back onto the trail. The land here was different than Red Creek Valley. More hills, more rocks. Good country for hiding if you knew it. Sadie seemed to know it. After an hour of riding, she tapped Cole's arm and pointed. A narrow gap between two hills barely visible unless you were looking for it. That way, Cole asked. She nodded. Shorter? Another nod. Cole steered Dakota toward the gap. How do you know about this? Sadie pulled out her paper and drew quickly. A wagon, a family, traveling. You came this way before with your folks. Nod. Cole filed that information away. Sadie's father had known these trails, had probably known a lot of things that got him killed. The gap led into a canyon, narrow and shaded. Perfect for an ambush, but also perfect for losing someone following you. Cole kept one hand on his rifle as they rode. They were halfway through when Cole heard it, the distant sound of hoofbeats, multiple horses, coming fast. He pulled Dakota behind a large boulder and dismounted quickly, pulling Sadie down with him. He put a finger to his lips. Sadie nodded, eyes wide. The hoofbeats grew louder. Cole peered around the boulder. 3 riders came into view, not the same 3 from yesterday. These were different men, younger, meaner looking. They rode with their rifles out, scanning the canyon walls. Trail goes cold here, one of them said. His voice echoed off the rocks. Garrett said they'd head east, another replied. Toward Copper Springs. Could have doubled back, could be anywhere. The third man, the youngest, said, Mr. Blackwood's offering double pay to whoever brings them in, the girl especially. Says she's got something belongs to him. What's a little girl got that's so valuable? Don't know, don't care. Just want that bonus. They rode closer. Too close. Dakota shifted her weight, and a stone rolled free. The sound was tiny, but in the quiet canyon, it was like a gunshot. All 3 riders turned. There, the young one said, pointing. Cole's hand went to his rifle. He couldn't take all 3, not without getting himself and Sadie killed. But he'd be damned if he'd let them take her without a fight. The riders spurred their horses forward. Then a shot rang out from the canyon rim above. Not aimed at Cole, aimed at the riders. The bullet kicked up dust between the horses' hooves. The animals spooked, rearing and dancing sideways. What the hell? One of the men shouted. Another shot, this one closer, a clear warning. The riders fought to control their mounts. They looked up at the canyon rim, trying to spot the shooter. But whoever was up there stayed hidden. Let's get out of here, the older one said. This ain't worth dying for. They turned their horses and rode back the way they'd come, fast, not looking back. Cole stayed frozen behind the boulder Sadie pressed against his side. He scanned the canyon rim, trying to see who'd saved them. A figure appeared, silhouetted against the sky. Too far to make out features, but Cole could see the rifle. The rider held it up in a kind of salute. Then he disappeared. Cole's mind raced. Who was that? Why help them? Then he remembered Wade Garrett's face yesterday, the way he'd looked at Sadie, something in his eyes, not quite pity, but close. Wade had let them go at the creek, had given them time to run, and now someone had scared off Blackwood's men when they got too close. Cole didn't believe in coincidences. He waited another 10 minutes to make sure the riders were really gone. Then he led Dakota out from behind the boulder, and they continued through the canyon. They emerged onto rolling grassland. In the distance, maybe 5 miles off, Cole could see buildings. Copper Springs. Almost there, he told Sadie. She leaned back against him, relaxing a little. They'd made it. Almost. As they rode, Cole's mind worked on the puzzle of the locket. Sadie's father had found something. Something to do with the Wheeler Ranch and Jasper Blackwood. Something worth killing for. Can I see the locket again? Cole asked. Sadie pulled it out and handed it to him. Cole opened it carefully, studying the etched map on the back cover. Wheeler Creek was marked. The old Wheeler Ranch. And that X, he'd heard stories about Thomas Wheeler. Good man. Rancher. Had died suddenly 10 years ago. Heart attack, they said. His land had gone to Jasper Blackwood through some legal maneuvering that nobody quite understood. But what if it wasn't a heart attack? What if Wheeler had been murdered, and what if Sadie's father had found proof? Cole looked at the photograph of Sadie's parents. They looked happy, in love, the kind of couple that made plans for the future. Your pa, Cole said carefully. He was looking into something, wasn't he? Something about Mr. Blackwood and the Wheeler place. Sadie took the locket back. She opened it and pointed at the photograph, then at the map. She made a gesture like digging. He found something buried there. Nod. Papers, documents. Enthusiastic nod. And these documents proved Blackwood did something wrong. Sadie's face darkened. She drew a quick sketch. A man lying on the ground. Another man standing over him with a gun. She pointed at the standing figure and wrote, Blackwood. Then she pointed at the figure on the ground and wrote, Mr. Wheeler, 1874. Cole's blood ran cold. Murder. Land fraud. If Sadie's father had found evidence of that, of course Blackwood would kill to keep it quiet. "Where are the documents now?" Cole asked. Sadie thought for a moment. Then she drew a building, a house with a chimney. She crossed it out, drew flames around it. "They burned with your house." She shook her head, drew another building. "This one looked like a barn or a shed. Your father hid them somewhere else." Nod. "But you don't know where—" She hesitated. Then slowly she pointed at the locket. "The map shows where they're hidden." Nod. Cole looked at the tiny map with new eyes. That X wasn't just marking the Wheeler Ranch. It was marking the exact spot where evidence of murder was hidden. No wonder Blackwood wanted this locket so badly. They rode in silence for a while, both lost in thought. The sun climbed toward noon. The heat pressed down like a weight. Copper Springs grew larger on the horizon. Cole could make out individual buildings now: the church steeple, the general store, the saloon, safety, or as close to it as they could get. But as they approached the edge of town, Cole saw something that made him pull Dakota to a stop. Horses, 5 of them, tied up outside the general store, and one of them was black as midnight with silver on the saddle. He'd seen that horse before, in wanted posters, in stories. It was Jasper Blackwood's horse. The man himself was in Copper Springs. Cole sat frozen, his mind racing. They couldn't ride into town, not with Blackwood there, but they couldn't stay out in the open either. Eventually someone would spot them. Sadie felt his tension. She looked up at him, questioning. "Change of plans," Cole said quietly. "We need to be smart about this." He turned Dakota north, circling around the town. There was another way in, a back way, through the alley behind the general store. If they were lucky, they could slip in without being seen. Could find Clara Mae Thompson, could get help before Blackwood knew they were there, if they were lucky. But Cole had never been much for luck. He touched the rifle on his saddle and rode toward Copper Springs, toward whatever came next, with Sadie's small hand gripping his shirt. The town waited. The danger waited. But they rode forward anyway, because sometimes that's all you can do. Keep riding toward the light even when darkness surrounds you. Keep the promise even when it costs everything. Keep going, always keep going. Cole guided Dakota through the narrow alley behind Main Street, keeping to the shadows. The buildings provided cover, but they also trapped him. One shout, one curious face in a window, and they'd be caught like rats in a barrel. The back door of the general store stood slightly ajar. Cole could hear voices inside. A woman's voice, familiar even after all these years. Clara Mae Thompson. He dismounted quietly and lifted Sadie down. She stayed close to his side as they approached the door. Cole peered through the gap. Clara stood behind the counter, gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, reading spectacles perched on her nose. She was alone. The store was empty except for sacks of flour and shelves lined with goods. Cole pushed the door open. Clara looked up. Her eyes went wide. The spectacles nearly fell off her face. "Lord have mercy," she whispered. "Cole Brennan." "Hello, Clara." She came around the counter fast for a woman her age. Her eyes swept over him, taking in the trail dust, the rifle, the little girl at his side. "I heard you died up in those hills. Folks said you just faded away like a ghost." "Part of me did," Cole said. He glanced toward the front of the store. "Is it safe to talk?" Clara moved quickly to the front door and turned the lock. She pulled down the shade. "Safe enough, for now." She turned to face him. "What kind of trouble are you in?" "The bad kind. That horse out front, the black one with the silver, that's Jasper Blackwood's." "I know." Clara's gaze dropped to Sadie. The girl stood pressed against Cole's leg, one hand clutching his shirt. Her blonde hair was tangled with leaves and dust. The bandage on her shoulder showed through the torn dress. "And who's this angel?" Clara's voice softened. "Her name's Sadie. She needs help. We both do." Clara knelt down to Sadie's level. "Hello, sweetheart. You look like you could use a good meal and some clean clothes." Sadie looked up at Cole. He nodded. "It's all right. Clara's good people. She was friends with my Sarah." At the mention of Sarah's name, Clara's eyes misted. She stood and touched Cole's arm. "I wanted to come see you after the fever, but you shut yourself away so tight nobody could reach you." "I know. I'm sorry for that." "Don't be sorry. Be alive." She looked at him hard. "Are you alive, Cole? Really alive, or just going through the motions?" Cole glanced down at Sadie. "I'm working on it." Clara nodded, satisfied. She moved to the back room and returned with a simple dress, clean and whole, in a girl's size. "Come here, child. Let's get you out of those rags." Sadie hesitated. "Go on," Cole said. "I'll be right here." Clara took Sadie behind a curtain. Cole heard the rustle of fabric, the soft murmur of Clara's voice. When they emerged, Sadie looked transformed. The dress was blue, calico, practical but pretty. Her face and hands were washed clean. Clara had even managed to brush the tangles from her hair. "There now," Clara said. "That's better." She looked at Cole with a raised eyebrow. "Your turn. When's the last time you had a proper wash?" Despite everything, Cole almost smiled. "Been a while." "A while? Cole Brennan, you smell like you haven't seen soap in 6 years. Clara?" "Don't you Clara me. There's a pump out back and a bar of lye soap. Use them." It was so absurdly normal, so wonderfully mundane, that Cole felt something ease in his chest. He went to the back and washed his face and hands, scrubbed the worst of the trail dust off. When he came back inside, Clara had set out bread and cheese and apples on the counter. "Eat," she commanded. "Both of you." They ate. The bread was fresh, the cheese sharp and good. Sadie ate with both hands, making small, happy sounds. It was the closest thing to normal Cole had felt in days. The front door rattled. Someone testing the lock. Cole's hand went to his gun. Clara held up a hand. "Hold on." She went to the window and peered through a gap in the shade. Her face relaxed. "It's all right. It's Sam." She unlocked the door. An old man stepped inside, moving with the careful grace of someone who'd seen many winters. His skin was weathered brown, his hair white as snow. He wore simple clothes, but around his neck hung a medicine bag on a leather cord. Sam Red Sky Walker, Comanche, the last of his people in this territory. He'd been old when Cole first met him, and that was 20 years ago. "I saw smoke on the western hills last night," Sam said. His voice was quiet but carried weight. "I wondered whose world was burning." "Mine," Cole said. Sam's dark eyes found him, then they moved to Sadie. He studied her for a long moment. "You've taken up a heavy burden, Cole Brennan. Didn't have much choice. There's always a choice. You chose to carry it. That says something about who you are." Cole didn't know what to say to that. Sam had a way of seeing through to the bone of things. The old man approached Sadie. He knelt down, joints creaking. "Little one, you've walked through fire and shadow, but you're still here. That takes courage." Sadie watched him with wide eyes. Sam reached into his medicine bag and pulled out something small, a carved stone, smooth and white. He placed it in Sadie's palm. "This is from the river. The water shapes the stone, makes it smooth. You are being shaped by hard things, but you will be stronger for it." Sadie's fingers closed around the stone. She looked at Sam, then at Cole, then back at Sam. For a moment Cole thought she might speak, but she just nodded solemn and understanding. Sam stood and turned to Cole. "A man who protects the innocent walks with the spirits of his ancestors. Your Sarah, your Emma, they walk with you now. Do you feel them?" Cole's throat tightened. "Sometimes. They bless this path you've chosen. I feel their approval." Sam placed a weathered hand on Cole's shoulder. "Walk with courage, old friend. The darkness ahead is deep, but your light is strong." Before Cole could respond, the sound of hoofbeats filled the street outside. Many horses. Coming to a stop right in front of the store, Clara moved to the window. Her face went pale. "Blackwood, he's here with 6 men." Cole pulled Sadie close. "Back room, now." Clara led them through the curtain into the storage area. Shelves lined the walls, stacked with goods. A narrow staircase led up to living quarters above. "Under the stairs," Clara whispered, "there's a crawl space. Get in and don't make a sound." Cole and Sadie squeezed into the tight space just as heavy boots hit the wooden porch outside. The front door opened. Through a gap in the boards, Cole could see into the store. A man entered. Tall, well-dressed in a black coat despite the heat. His face was handsome in a cold way. Gray hair at the temples. Eyes like chips of ice. Jasper Blackwood. Behind him came 6 men, hard-looking, armed. Wade Garrett was among them, his scarred face impassive. "Mrs. Thompson," Blackwood said. His voice was smooth as oil. "Lovely to see you as always." "Mr. Blackwood," Clara's voice was steady. "What can I do for you?" "I'm looking for someone. A child. 7 years old, blonde hair. She's traveling with a man. Older. Might be armed." "Haven't seen anyone like that." Blackwood smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Are you certain I have reason to believe they came this way?" "I've been here all morning. Nobody's come through that door but Sam Walker." Blackwood's gaze shifted to Sam, who stood near the counter, still and silent. "The old Indian. Still alive, are you?" "Still breathing," Sam said quietly. "Remarkable." Blackwood turned back to Clara. "The child has stolen something from me. A locket. Gold. Very valuable. I simply want it returned." "If a child took something from you," Clara said carefully, "perhaps you should ask yourself why a child would need to steal." Blackwood's smile vanished. "Watch your tongue, woman." I own half this town. I could make things very difficult for you. You already make things difficult for everyone, Mr. Blackwood. It's what you do." The temperature in the room dropped. Blackwood's men shifted hands, moving toward their guns. Wade Garrett's eyes scanned the store, professional and thorough. "Search it," Blackwood said. Two men moved toward the back room. Cole's hand tightened on his rifle. If they found the crawl space, he'd have to fight. 6 against 1. Not good odds. But he wouldn't let them take Sadie without a fight. The men started pulling things off shelves, looking behind crates. They were getting closer. Then Sam spoke. "The child you seek. Is she the daughter of Thomas Parker?" Everyone froze. Blackwood turned slowly. "What do you know about Parker?" "I know he was a good man. I know he died badly. I know his wife died with him. I know their child ran into the night and hasn't been seen since." Sam's voice was calm, stating facts. "I know you're looking for her because she has something you want, something that proves you killed Thomas Wheeler 10 years ago and stole his land." The silence that followed was absolute. Blackwood's face went white, then red. "That's slander. I could have you arrested." "Truth isn't slander." Sam met his gaze without flinching. "But the child isn't here. I saw her heading south 2 days ago, toward the river country." It was a lie, a bold, flat lie. And Sam delivered it with such conviction that even Cole almost believed it. Blackwood studied him. "South, you say?" "South, moving fast. By now she's probably across the border into Mexico." Blackwood considered this. Then he nodded to his men. "We're done here." He turned back to Clara. "If you see this child, you'll inform me immediately. Is that understood?" "Crystal clear," Clara said. Blackwood walked to the door. He paused on the threshold. "Oh, and Mrs. Thompson, that door you keep locked during business hours. Very suspicious. I'd hate to think you're hiding something." He left. His men followed. Wade Garrett was the last to go. As he passed the back room, his eyes flicked to the crawl space. He saw. Cole knew he saw. But Wade said nothing, just touched his hat brim and walked out. The sound of hoofbeats faded. Clara rushed to lock the door again. "Come out," she said, quickly. Cole and Sadie emerged from the crawl space. Sadie was shaking. Cole pulled her close. "That man," Clara said, her voice unsteady now. "Wade Garrett. He knew you were there. I saw it in his eyes." "I know," Cole said. "Why didn't he say anything?" "I don't know." Sam walked over. "The tracker has a daughter, same age as your little one. Sometimes that changes a man." Cole filed that information away. Wade Garrett had a daughter. That explained the look in his eyes when he'd first seen Sadie. That explained why he'd let them go. "You can't stay in town," Clara said. "Blackwood will have men watching. If you're seen, we need a place to hide, just until the marshal gets back." Clara bit her lip, thinking. "There's the old Wheeler ranch. Been abandoned for 10 years. Nobody goes there. It's overgrown, half falling down, but the structure's sound enough." "Wheeler Ranch." Cole looked at Sadie. "That's where your father's evidence is hidden, isn't it?" Sadie nodded. "It's poetic in a way," Clara said. "The place where Blackwood's crime began. Maybe it's where justice catches up to him." Cole made a decision. "We'll go there. Tonight. After dark." "I'll get you supplies," Clara said. "Food, blankets, medical supplies." She looked at Sadie's bandaged shoulder. "You should see Doc Patterson about that wound." "Too risky. Blackwood will be watching the doc. Then I'll bring him here. After dark. He's a good man. He'll come." Sam placed his hand on Cole's shoulder again. "This path you walk. It grows more dangerous, but you don't walk it alone. Remember that." "Thank you," Cole said. "For the lie, for the blessing, for everything." "We are all connected," Sam said simply. "Your fight is our fight. Your burden is shared." They spent the afternoon in the back room, out of sight. Clara brought food and water. She sat with Sadie, teaching her to sew, talking to her in soft tones. Sadie didn't speak, but she smiled. A real smile. It transformed her face. As the sun set, Doc Patterson arrived through the back door. He was a thin man with kind eyes and gentle hands. He examined Sadie's shoulder, changed the bandage, applied fresh salve. "It's healing well," he said. "Another week and she'll be good as new." He looked at Cole. "You did a fine job patching her up." "Had practice," Cole said. The doctor packed his bag. "Clara told me what's happening, what you're doing for this child." He shook Cole's hand. "You're a brave man. If you need help, you know where to find me." After he left, Clara brought out a pile of supplies. Food, blankets, ammunition, candles. "It's not much, but it should last you a few days." "Clara, I can't pay you for all this." "I don't want your money, Cole Brennan. I want you and that little girl to survive." Her voice cracked. "Sarah was my friend, my best friend. When she died, I lost a piece of my heart. But you're still here, and this child needs you. So you survive, you hear me? You survive, and you win." Cole embraced her. It was awkward and brief, but it meant something. Full dark fell over Copper Springs. Cole packed the supplies onto Dakota. Sadie stood ready wearing her new dress, holding the carved stone Sam had given her. Clara hugged her. "You're a special girl, Sadie. Don't ever forget that." Sadie hugged her back fierce and tight. They slipped out the back door into the alley. The moon was rising nearly full now. Good for seeing, bad for hiding. Cole lifted Sadie onto Dakota and swung up behind her. He looked back at Clara standing in the doorway. 1 week, she said. "The marshal will be back in 1 week. Hold out until then." "We will." "And, Cole, there's something you should know. Marshal Trent, he's already investigating Blackwood. Has been for months. He's looking for evidence, for witnesses. If you can bring him proof—" "The locket," Cole said. "The map inside. It leads to documents that prove Blackwood murdered Wheeler." "Then that's what you need to find. Get those documents. Keep them safe. When the marshal comes back, you hand them over. And this ends." Cole nodded. "Wheeler Ranch. Where the crime began, justice ends." He turned Dakota north toward the old Wheeler place. As they left Copper Springs behind, Cole felt eyes on them. He looked back once and saw a figure on horseback, distant and dark. Watching. Wade Garrett, still following, still letting them go. What game was the tracker playing, Cole didn't know, but he was grateful for it. They rode through the night, through hills and valleys, through shadows and moonlight. Dakota knew the way, following old trails that nobody used anymore. Sadie leaned back against Cole's chest. After a while, she pulled out her paper and pencil. By moonlight, she drew a house, old and worn, surrounded by trees. Then she drew 2 figures inside, safe, together. She wrote beneath it, "Home." Cole looked at that word and felt something stir in his chest. Home. He'd lost his home twice now, once to fever, once to fire. But maybe home wasn't a place. Maybe it was a person, a promise, a choice to keep going even when everything said to quit. Maybe home was this little girl in his arms, trusting him to keep her safe. Maybe that was enough. The Wheeler Ranch rose out of the darkness ahead, a shell of what it once was, but standing, waiting. Cole guided Dakota toward it, toward whatever came next, with hope and fear warring in his heart. Behind them, unseen and unknown danger gathered. But ahead in that old forgotten house, maybe they'd find what they needed. Evidence, justice, truth, and maybe, just maybe, a place to rest, even if only for a little while. The Wheeler Ranch stood like a monument to forgotten dreams. Cole pulled Dakota to a stop at the edge of the property and sat for a moment taking it in. The main house was 3 stories of weathered wood and broken windows. Vines crawled up the walls, reclaiming what man had abandoned. The porch sagged in the middle. The roof showed gaps where shingles had blown away. But the bones were good. The structure was sound. And most importantly, it was hidden. Trees grew thick around it, tall cottonwoods and oaks that blocked the view from the road. You'd have to know it was here to find it. Perfect. Cole dismounted and helped Sadie down. She stood looking at the house with wide eyes. Even in moonlight, the place had a presence, a weight of history. "Come on," Cole said softly. "Let's see what we've got." The front door hung crooked on its hinges. Cole pushed it open carefully. The wood groaned but held. Inside, darkness pressed thick and heavy. Cole struck a match. The flare of light revealed a grand entryway. A staircase curved up to the 2nd floor. Furniture sat covered in white sheets, ghostly shapes in the shadows. Dust lay thick on everything. No one had been here in years. Cole lit one of the candles Clara had given them. The small flame pushed back the darkness, revealing more details. Portraits on the walls faded and water-stained. A chandelier that might have been beautiful once now, draped in cobwebs. Signs of wealth, signs of a life lived large. All gone now. Sadie stayed close to Cole's side as they explored. Her hand gripped his shirt. He could feel her trembling. "It's all right," Cole said. "Just an old house. Nothing here can hurt you." But he wasn't sure that was true. Sometimes the ghosts of the past hurt worse than anything living. They moved through the ground floor, the parlor, the dining room with a long table that could seat 12, the kitchen with an iron stove and pump sink. Everything covered in dust and decay, but recognizable, functional. Cole found the cellar door and checked it. Stone steps led down into darkness. Good. An escape route if they needed one. Upstairs they found bedrooms, 5 of them. The first 4 were much the same. Beds with rotted mattresses, bureaus with drawers hanging open, the remnants of lives interrupted. But the 5th room was different. It was smaller. A child's room. The bed was tiny, made for someone no bigger than Sadie. Toys sat on shelves, dusty but intact. A rocking horse in the corner. A dollhouse by the window. And on the wall, drawings, a child's drawings pinned up with care. Sadie walked to the drawings and touched one gently. It showed a family, mother, father, daughter, all smiling, all together. Cole's throat tightened. He knew that feeling, the ache of seeing what used to be. Thomas Wheeler had a daughter, he said quietly. Her name was Margaret. She died of scarlet fever when she was 8. 6 months later, Wheeler himself died. Heart attack, they said. He paused. Now I'm wondering if it was really his heart that gave out or if someone helped it along. Sadie turned to look at him. Even in the dim candlelight, he could see the tears on her cheeks. You're thinking about your folks, Cole said. She nodded. Cole sat down on the small bed. The frame creaked but held. He patted the spot beside him. Sadie climbed up and sat close, her shoulder pressing against his arm. My Emma had a room like this, Cole said. Not as fancy, but she loved it. She'd spend hours in there playing with her toys, drawing pictures. Sarah and we'd hear her talking to herself, making up stories. She had an imagination that wouldn't quit. He stared at the drawings on the wall. The day the fever took her, I was in that room. I held her hand and told her stories until she fell asleep. I thought it was just sleep, thought she'd wake up. His voice cracked. But she didn't wake up. And when Sarah followed her the next morning, I thought my world had ended. Sadie's small hand found his. I buried them on the hill behind our house, put up markers, planted flowers. For 6 years I went up there every day, talked to them like they could hear me, asked them questions I knew they couldn't answer. He looked at Sadie. I was alive, but I wasn't living, just going through the motions, waiting for my turn to die. Sadie squeezed his hand tighter. Then you showed up, Cole continued, bleeding and scared and needing someone. And I realized something. I couldn't save Sarah, couldn't save Emma, but maybe I could save you. Maybe that's why I'm still here. Maybe they kept me alive for this. Sadie reached up and touched his face. Her fingers traced the lines around his eyes, the gray in his beard. She looked at him with such understanding, such wisdom beyond her years. Then she climbed into his lap and wrapped her arms around his neck and held on tight. Cole held her back. This little girl who'd lost everything. This brave, broken, beautiful child who'd walked through fire and kept going. I buried them on that hill, Cole whispered. And I buried myself too, until you came along. They sat like that for a long time. The candle burned low. Outside, the wind moved through the trees, a soft susurration that sounded almost like voices. Finally, Sadie pulled back. She climbed down from his lap and went to her pack. She pulled out her paper and pencil. By candlelight, she drew 2 graves on a hill, flowers growing around them, 2 figures standing there, a man and a woman, translucent like ghosts, smiling, peaceful. And walking away from the graves, hand in hand, a tall man and a small girl. She wrote beneath it, They let you go. They want you to live. Cole stared at the drawing. Something inside him broke. Or maybe it healed. He wasn't sure which, but tears came hot and heavy, and for the first time in 6 years, he didn't try to stop them. He cried for Sarah and Emma, for the life he'd lost, for the years he'd wasted in grief, for the man he'd been and the man he'd become. Sadie hugged him again. She didn't try to make him stop, just held him and let him feel it all. When the tears finally slowed, Cole wiped his face. Thank you, he said. His voice was rough. For that, for all of it. Sadie nodded. Then she yawned big and wide. Come on, Cole said. Let's get you to bed. They went to one of the other bedrooms, one with a bed that looked more sturdy. Cole shook out the old blankets, checked for spiders and mice. It wasn't perfect, but it would do. He laid out the fresh blankets Clara had given them. Sadie climbed in and curled up small. Cole sat beside her. I'll be downstairs, he said. Setting up, making this place defensible. You sleep, I'll keep watch. But Sadie grabbed his hand. She shook her head. Didn't want him to go. All right, Cole said. I'll stay until you're asleep. He settled into a chair by the window. From here he could see the approach to the house. Could watch for danger. Sadie watched him for a moment, then her eyes drifted shut. Within minutes, she was breathing deep and even. Cole sat in the darkness and thought about the drawings on the wall in the next room. About Margaret Wheeler, who'd died too young. About Emma, who'd had the same fate. About Sadie, who'd survived when she shouldn't have. Life was strange, cruel and strange, and sometimes, just sometimes beautiful in its own broken way. He was still sitting there an hour later when he heard it. Hoofbeats, single horse, coming slow and careful. Cole was on his feet instantly, rifle in hand. He moved to the window and looked out. A rider approached through the trees, alone, hands up, palms out, unarmed, Wade Garrett. Cole's finger tightened on the trigger. This could be a trap. Could be Blackwood's men surrounding the house while Wade played decoy. But the tracker rode right up to the front porch and dismounted. He stood in the moonlight, hands still raised. "Brennan!" he called out, not loud, but clear. "I'm alone. I'm not here to fight." Cole moved downstairs, quiet as a cat. He positioned himself behind the door rifle, aimed at Wade's chest through the gap. "Give me one reason not to shoot you," Cole said. "Because I've got a daughter," Wade replied. "Her name's Lily. She's 8 years old. Lives with her mother in San Antonio. I send them money every month. It's the only good thing I've done in my whole damn life." "That's supposed to make me trust you." "No, but maybe it'll make you listen." Wade lowered his hands slowly. "Can I come in? Or do we do this on the porch where anyone could see?" Cole considered. Then he opened the door. "Come in, slow. Keep your hands where I can see them." Wade entered. Cole kept the rifle trained on him. In the candlelight, the scar on Wade's face looked deeper, uglier, but his eyes were tired, defeated almost. "Blackwood's planning to attack at dawn," Wade said without preamble. 8 men, including me. He's going to surround this place and burn you out. Won't give you a chance to surrender. Just wants the girl dead and the locket destroyed." "Why are you telling me this?" Wade was quiet for a moment. "Because I saw that little girl's face yesterday. In town when we were searching for her. I saw her hiding, and she looked just like my Lily. Same age, same fear in her eyes." He met Cole's gaze. "I've done bad things, Brennan. Things that keep me up at night. But I draw the line at killing children. You work for Blackwood. You do what he says." "I did." Past tense. Wade pulled something from his coat. Paper folded. He laid it on the table. "That's a map. Shows where Blackwood's men will position themselves. Shows the weak points in his plan. Shows where I'll be." Cole picked up the map with one hand, keeping the rifle steady with the other. He unfolded it. Detailed. Precise. 8 positions marked around the house. Times noted. Approach routes drawn. "Why should I believe this isn't a trap?" Cole asked. "Because if I wanted you dead, I could have killed you a dozen times already." Wade's voice was flat. "At your cabin. On the trail. In the canyon yesterday, when my shot scared off those riders. That was me, by the way. Saved your hide." Cole remembered the figure on the canyon rim, the shot that came from nowhere. "Blackwood's got my daughter," Wade continued. "Not physically, but he knows where she is. He's threatened her, said if I don't bring him that girl and that locket, he'll send men to San Antonio. He'll hurt Lily to get to me." "So why betray him now?" "Because I realized something." Wade's jaw tightened. "If I kill that little girl upstairs to save my daughter, what kind of man does that make me? What kind of father? How do I look Lily in the eye ever again?" He shook his head. "I can't do it. I won't." Cole studied him, looking for the lie, looking for the angle. All he saw was a tired man making a hard choice. "What do you want from me?" Cole asked. "When this is over, when Blackwood's dead or arrested, I want you to get word to my daughter. Tell her I tried to be better. Tell her I made one good choice at the end." Wade's voice cracked. "And if Blackwood sends men after her before I can stop him, I want you to protect her, same as you're protecting that little girl upstairs." "That's a lot to ask." "I know. But I'm offering you a way to win, to survive. That's worth something." Cole lowered the rifle slightly. "Tell me the plan." Wade moved to the table and spread out the map. "Blackwood will come from the east at dawn. 6 men on horseback, 2 on foot. They'll surround the house, set fires at the 4 corners. When you try to escape, they'll pick you off." "Where will you be?" "North side, with a rifle. Supposedly covering that approach," Wade pointed. "But when the shooting starts, I'll aim at Blackwood's men, not you. Create confusion. Maybe take out 2 or 3 before they realize what's happening." "That'll get you killed." "Probably, but at least I'll die doing something right." Cole thought about it. The plan was risky. If Wade was lying, Cole and Sadie would be trapped. But if he was telling the truth, they had a chance. "There's another option," Cole said. "We don't wait for them to come to us. We take the fight to Blackwood before dawn." Wade shook his head. "His camp is fortified. You'd never get close. Then we run. Take the girl and disappear. He'll hunt you forever. You know that. Men like Blackwood don't give up." Cole knew he was right. The only way this ended was with Blackwood dead or in chains. "There's something else you should know," Wade said. "The locket, the map inside. It shows where evidence is hidden, doesn't it? Documents that prove Blackwood killed Wheeler." "How do you know that?" "Because I've been with Blackwood for 5 years. I've heard things, seen things. I know he murdered Wheeler to get this land. I know he's done worse since then." Wade's face hardened. "If you can find those documents, you can destroy him. Not just kill him. Destroy everything he's built. You know where they're hidden. I know this house. Blackwood had me search it twice over the years looking for anything Wheeler might have left behind. There's a safe. hidden in the cellar, behind a false wall. Wade moved toward the cellar door. "I can show you." Cole hesitated. It could still be a trap. But Sadie was upstairs, and if there was a chance to end this, "Show me," he said. They went down to the cellar. The stone steps were slick with moisture. The air was cool and smelled of earth. Wade led him to the far wall, running his hands over the stones. "Here," he said. He pressed a particular stone, and part of the wall swung inward with a grinding sound. Behind it was a small space. And in that space a iron safe, old and rusted but intact. "Wheeler built this," Wade said. "Blackwood never found it. I never told him about it because," he shrugged, "because some part of me knew one day I'd need insurance." Cole approached the safe. It had a combination lock. "Can you open it?" "No, but the girl upstairs, her father could. If he found the original documents, he probably figured out the combination too. Might be written down somewhere." The locket. Cole pulled it from his pocket and opened it carefully. The photograph of Sadie's parents stared back at him. He turned the locket over, examining the inside of the back cover. There, etched in tiny numbers along the edges of the engraved map, were markings he had noticed before, but not understood. 6, 14, 74. "What do these numbers mean?" Cole muttered. Wade leaned closer, squinting at the tiny etchings. Could be coordinates. Or, he paused, thinking. "Wait, June 14th, 1874. That's the day Wheeler died. I remember, because Blackwood threw himself a party that week. Celebrated buying this place. Said Wheeler had a heart attack on the 14th. Cole felt ice run down his spine. The combination. He spun the dial slowly. 6, 14, 74. Something inside the safe clicked. Cole pulled the handle. The door swung open. Inside were papers, yellowed with age but preserved. Cole lifted them out carefully. Land deeds, the original deed to the Wheeler Ranch signed by Thomas Wheeler, and another deed forged with a signature that was clearly not Wheeler's. Blackwood's attempt to claim the land. But there was more. A letter written in Wheeler's own hand, dated the day before he died. "To whom it may concern," Cole read aloud. "If you're reading this, I am likely dead. Jasper Blackwood has been pressuring me to sell my land. I have refused. Tonight he came to my house with threats. He said if I don't sign over the property, I'll regret it. I fear for my life and the life of my daughter. I am hiding these documents as proof of his intentions. If something happens to me, investigate Blackwood. He is not what he seems." Cole's hands shook. This was it. Proof. Evidence that could bring Blackwood down. "The Parker family found these," Wade said quietly. "That's why Blackwood killed them. That's why he wants the girl dead. She's a witness, and the locket led her here." Cole carefully folded the documents and put them in his coat. "This ends it. We get these to the marshal. Blackwood goes to prison. If you survive until morning, then we better prepare." Cole looked at Wade. "You're really going to fight with us. I'm really going to try not to get us all killed." Wade extended his hand. "Truce. Until this is over." Cole looked at that hand, looked at the man offering it, an enemy becoming an ally, a bad man trying to do one good thing. He shook it. "Truce." They went back upstairs. Cole checked on Sadie. She was still sleeping curled up small under the blankets. "She looks like Lily," Wade said from the doorway. "Same age, same innocence." "You'll see your daughter again," Cole said. "I'll make sure of it." Wade nodded, not quite believing but wanting to. They spent the next hours preparing. Wade helped Cole block windows, set up firing positions, plan escape routes. They worked in silence, two men with nothing in common except the desire to protect a child. As the first hint of gray touched the eastern sky, Wade prepared to leave. "I need to be in position before Blackwood gets suspicious," he said. "When the attack starts, I'll signal. Red bandana on my rifle. That's when you know I'm on your side." "If you're lying," Cole said quietly, "if this is a trick, I'll hunt you down. I'll find your daughter, and I'll make sure she knows what her father really was." Wade met his eyes. "Fair enough, but I'm not lying." He mounted his horse. "One more thing. There's a woman in town, Clara Thompson. She's got connections. If things go bad, get word to her. She'll get the documents to the marshal." "I know Clara." "Of course you do." Wade almost smiled. "See you at dawn, Brennan. Try not to shoot me by accident." He rode off into the pre-dawn darkness. Cole stood on the porch and watched him go. Trusting Wade went against every instinct, but sometimes you had to trust the enemy of your enemy. Sometimes you had to believe that even bad men could choose to be better. He went back inside and climbed the stairs. Sadie was awake, sitting up in bed, clutching the stone Sam had given her. "Morning," Cole said softly. "You sleep all right." She nodded. Then she pointed out the window at the lightening sky, questioning. "Yeah," Cole said. "They're coming, but we're ready, and we're not alone." Sadie climbed out of bed and came to him. She hugged him tight. Cole held her and looked out at the dawn. Somewhere out there, Blackwood was riding toward them with murder in his heart. But here in this old house haunted by ghosts, Cole felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope, not certainty, not confidence, but hope. And sometimes that was enough. The night before battle is always the longest. Cole sat by the window in the front bedroom, rifle across his lap, watching the darkness. Every sound made him tense. Every shadow could be a threat. His eyes burned from lack of sleep, but he couldn't rest, wouldn't rest. Not with Blackwood coming at dawn. Sadie was supposed to be sleeping in the next room. But Cole heard the floorboards creak, small footsteps padding across old wood. The door opened softly. She stood there in her borrowed nightdress, holding the white stone Sam had given her. Her face was pale in the moonlight streaming through the window. Her eyes were wide with fear. "Can't sleep?" Cole asked gently. She shook her head. "Come here." Sadie crossed the room and climbed into the chair beside him. She was so small, so fragile. How had she survived this long? How had she kept going when her whole world had burned? They sat in silence for a while. Cole kept his eyes on the tree line, watching for movement. Sadie watched him. Finally, she reached out and touched his hand. Not grabbing, just touching. Her fingers were cold. Cole looked at her. "You're scared." A nod. "Me too," he admitted. "I'd be lying if I said I wasn't." Sadie's eyes widened slightly. She hadn't expected that honesty. "But being scared doesn't mean we quit," Cole continued. "It means we're smart enough to know what's at stake. Your father was scared when he stood up to Blackwood, but he did it anyway because it was right. That's what courage is. Not the absence of fear, just doing what needs doing despite it." Sadie leaned against his shoulder. Cole could feel her trembling. "I'm going to do everything I can to keep you safe," he said. "Everything. You understand?" She nodded against his shirt. They sat like that for a long time. The moon traveled across the sky. Stars wheeled overhead. The world turned toward dawn, whether they were ready or not. Then Sadie's hand tightened on his. Cole looked down. She was staring at him with an intensity that made his breath catch. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Her lips moved, forming words, but no sound came. "It's all right," Cole said softly. "You don't have to talk. I understand." But she shook her head fiercely. Her grip on his hand became almost painful. She was trying so hard. Don't." The word was barely a whisper, rough and broken like something dragged across gravel. But it was a word, a real word. Cole froze. "Sadie." Her eyes filled with tears. She tried again. "Don't die." The words came out strangled, desperate, but clear. "Please don't die." Cole's throat closed. 6 weeks of silence broken. Not with joy or relief, with fear, with love. "Sadie," he breathed. "You're talking." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Don't die like Mama and Papa, please." Her voice cracked on the last word. She threw her arms around his neck and held on like he was the only solid thing in a world of water. Cole held her back. His own eyes burned. "I'm not going anywhere. You hear me? I'm not leaving you. Promise." Her voice was muffled against his shoulder. "Promise Papa Cole." Papa Cole. The words hit him like a bullet to the chest. Not just Cole. Papa Cole. His daughter had called him Papa. 6 years ago in a different life with a different child. And now this girl, this brave, broken girl, was calling him by the same name. "I promise," Cole said. His voice shook. "I promise, Sadie. I'm not your real Papa. I ain't trying to replace him. But if you'll have me, I'll try to be. I'll try my best." Sadie pulled back to look at him. Her face was wet with tears, but she was smiling. Actually smiling. "I want," she said. Her voice was getting stronger, more certain. "I want you to be my Papa." Cole broke. Just completely broke. He pulled her close and let the tears come. For Sarah and Emma. For Thomas and Mary Parker. For this little girl who'd lost everything and somehow found the strength to speak again. For himself, the broken hermit who'd been given a second chance at living. They held each other as the night faded and dawn crept closer. And when the tears finally stopped, Cole wiped his face and looked at Sadie. "You picked a hell of a time to find your voice," he said. She almost laughed. The sound was rusty but real. "We're going to get through this," Cole said. "Together. And when it's over, we're going to find a place to call home. A real home. Just you and me. That sound good?" "Yes, Papa." The words still hit him like lightning, but good lightning. The kind that lit up the world. "All right then." Cole stood and held out his hand. "Let's get ready." The sky was turning gray when they heard the horses. Cole positioned Sadie in the cellar like they'd planned. She had water, food, and the documents from the safe wrapped in oilcloth. If things went bad, she was to run through the tunnel Wade had shown them. It led out to the creek 100 yards from the house. You remember the plan? Cole asked. Yes, Papa. Her voice was still rough, but getting steadier. If the shooting starts and I'm not back in 10 minutes, you run. You go to Copper Springs. You find Clara Mae Thompson. You give her the documents. You understand? I won't leave you. Sadie. Cole knelt to her level. Listen to me. Those papers are the only thing that matters. They're what your father died for, what your mother died for. You get them to safety. That's the mission. That's what has to happen. She shook her head stubbornly. I won't leave you, she repeated. Cole saw the determination in her eyes, the same fire that had kept her alive through everything. He knew that look. Sarah used to have it, Emma too. The Brennan women stubborn to the core. Except Sadie wasn't a Brennan yet, not officially, but she would be, if they survived this. Stay hidden, Cole said finally. Please, for me. Okay, Papa. He kissed her forehead and went upstairs. The sun broke over the eastern hills at 6:17. Cole marked the moment. The light turned everything gold. Beautiful. Wrong somehow that such a pretty morning should bring death. 8 riders appeared on the tree line. Spread out. Tactical. Jasper Blackwood rode in the center on his black stallion. Even from a distance, Cole could see the man's fine coat, his straight posture. He looked like he was riding to church, not to murder. Wade Garrett was positioned to the north exactly where he'd said he'd be. Cole couldn't see his face from this distance, but he could see the rifle. Could see the way Wade set his horse ready. The question was ready for what Blackwood's voice carried across the open ground. Smooth. Confident. Brennan, I know you're in there. Send out the girl, and we'll make this quick. You have my word. Cole didn't answer. Let him talk. You're a reasonable man, Blackwood continued. This doesn't have to end badly for you. The child has something of mine. I just want it back. Hand it over and walk away. I'll even pay you for your trouble. Still, Cole said nothing. Blackwood's tone hardened. Very well. You've made your choice. Men burn it. 4 of the riders dismounted. They carried torches already lit. They moved toward the house from 4 directions. Cole let them get close. Waited until they were committed. Then he fired. The first shot took down the man approaching from the east. He went down hard, the torch flying from his hand. The other 3 scattered, looking for cover. Return fire came fast. Bullets punched through the windows, thudded into walls. Cole dropped flat and crawled to a new position. He fired again. Missed. The torch-bearers were moving too fast, using the trees for cover. Then one of them broke from cover and sprinted for the house. He was young, stupid, brave. He got within 10 feet before Cole's bullet caught him in the shoulder. The boy spun and fell. The torch landed in dry grass. Fire caught immediately. It spread fast, racing across the yard toward the house. North side, Blackwood shouted. Garrett, cover them. Wade raised his rifle, but instead of aiming at Cole, he aimed at the man beside him. One of Blackwood's riders. Wade's shot was clean and true. The man toppled from his saddle. Chaos erupted. Blackwood's men didn't know where the shot had come from at first. They turned on each other, confused. Scared, 2 of them fired at shadows. One shot hit another rider by accident. Wade fired again. Another of Blackwood's men went down. Garrett, you traitor! Blackwood's voice cracked with rage. Kill him! But the damage was done. Blackwood had started with 8 men. Now he had 4. And his men were scattered, disorganized, scared. Cole used the confusion to move. He got to the back of the house and fired from a new angle. Caught one of the torch-bearers in the leg. The man screamed and crawled for cover. But the fire was spreading. The dry grass burned hot and fast. Smoke started to fill the house. Cole had to get Sadie out. Had to move now. He ran for the cellar stairs. Sadie, we're leaving. She met him at the bottom, the oilcloth package clutched to her chest. Her eyes were wide, but she wasn't panicking. Through the tunnel, Cole said. Go? They ran through the darkness, following the path Wade had showed them. Behind them, smoke poured down the stairs. The house was dying. The tunnel was narrow and low. Cole had to crouch. Sadie ran ahead, sure-footed in the dark. They emerged near the creek, gasping for air. But they weren't safe yet. 2 of Blackwood's men had circled around. They spotted Cole and Sadie immediately. There, one shouted. Cole raised his rifle, but his angle was bad. The men had cover, and he didn't. Then a shot rang out from the north. One of the men jerked and fell. Wade still fighting. The second man turned to flee. Cole dropped him with a clean shot to the back. The shooting stopped. Eerie silence fell over the Wheeler ranch. Cole could hear the fire crackling, could see smoke rising black against the morning sky. How many of Blackwood's men were left? Where was Blackwood himself? Cole pulled Sadie close and scanned the trees. Movement to the east. Riders coming. Multiple riders. His heart sank. Reinforcements. Blackwood had more men. But then he heard a woman's voice. "Cole Brennan, don't shoot. It's Clara." Cole's breath caught. He stood slowly, rifle ready but not aimed. Clara Mae Thompson rode into view on a bay mare. Behind her came more riders, 10, 15, 20, townspeople from Copper Springs, armed with rifles and shotguns and old pistols, and in the lead, wearing a silver star on his vest, a man Cole had never seen, Marshal Marcus Trent. "Got your message," Clara called out. "Figured you could use some help." "How did you know?" "Doc Patterson. He saw the smoke from town, knew what it meant." She gestured at the marshal. "And lucky for you, Marshal Trent came back a day early." The marshal was a solid man in his 50s with gray in his beard and iron in his eyes. He surveyed the scene, the burning house, the bodies in the yard, the smoke and chaos. "Jasper Blackwood," he called out. His voice carried authority. "You're surrounded. Throw down your weapons and surrender. You're under arrest for murder and conspiracy." For a moment, nothing happened. Then Blackwood rode out from the trees. He still sat his horse like he owned the world, but his face was pale. His coat was dusty. The veneer of civilization was cracking. Wade Garrett rode out from the other direction. His rifle was trained on Blackwood. Blood stained his left arm, but he was alive. "It's over, Jasper," Wade said. "Done." And of Blackwood's remaining men emerged from cover, 3 of them hands raised, beaten. But Blackwood himself wasn't done. His hand moved fast, pulling a pistol from his coat. He aimed it not at the marshal, not at Wade, but at Cole. No, not at Cole, at Sadie. "The girl dies first," Blackwood said. His voice was calm again, cold. "Then we can talk terms." Everyone froze. 20 rifles aimed at Blackwood, but he had his pistol pointed at a 7-year-old girl's head. One twitch of his finger, and she was dead. Cole's blood turned to ice. He started to move between Blackwood and Sadie, but Sadie stepped forward instead. She stepped right out from behind Cole, stood in the open, and looked Jasper Blackwood in the eye. Then she spoke. Her voice was small but clear, cutting through the tension like a knife. "You killed Mr. Wheeler," she said. "You killed my mama and papa. I saw you." Blackwood's hand wavered. "You're lying." "I saw you shoot my papa. I heard you tell your men to burn our house. I have proof." She held up the oilcloth package. "Papers, documents, everything you tried to hide." The clearing was silent. Every eye on this little girl who'd been silent for weeks, this child who'd found her voice at exactly the right moment. "You can kill me," Sadie continued, "but it won't matter. The truth is already out. Everyone knows what you did." Blackwood's face twisted with rage. His finger tightened on the trigger. Wade's rifle barked. The shot was perfect. It took Blackwood's gun hand. The pistol flew from his grip. Blackwood screamed and clutched his shattered hand. Marshal Trent and his deputies rushed forward. They pulled Blackwood from his horse and slammed him to the ground. Handcuffs clicked shut. "Jasper Blackwood," the marshal said formally, "you're under arrest for the murders of Thomas Wheeler, Thomas Parker, Mary Parker, and conspiracy to commit murder. You have the right to remain silent." But Blackwood wasn't silent. He was screaming, cursing, threatening, making promises of revenge and retribution. No one listened. Cole pulled Sadie into his arms and held her tight. She was shaking now, the adrenaline wearing off, but she'd done it. She'd stood up to her nightmare and spoken truth. Wade dismounted slowly, favoring his wounded arm. He walked over to Cole. "Your daughter," he said quietly. "Get word to her. Tell her what I did here." "Tell her yourself," Cole said. "You're not dying today." Wade almost smiled. "Maybe not." He looked at Sadie. "You're a brave girl. Braver than me." Sadie looked up at him. "Thank you for helping my papa." "Papa," she said it so naturally, like it had always been true. Wade's eyes got bright. He nodded once, then walked away to get his arm bandaged. Clara came over and hugged them both. "Lord above, you two scared me half to death. When I saw that smoke—" "We're all right," Cole said. "Thanks to you, to all of you." The townspeople were gathering, putting out the fire, tending to wounded, celebrating their victory. Sam Walker appeared at Cole's elbow, silent as always. He looked at Sadie, then at Cole. "The spirits are pleased," he said simply. "Justice has been done." Marshal Trent approached. "I need to see those documents," he said. "The evidence." Sadie handed him the oilcloth package. He opened it carefully, read the papers inside. His face hardened. "This is enough," he said. "More than enough. Blackwood's finished." He looked at Cole. "You and the girl will need to testify. Give statements. But after that, you're free to go." "What happens to Blackwood?" "Trial. Conviction. Hanging, most likely, for murder and land fraud." The marshal's eyes were cold. "Justice will be served. You have my word." Cole nodded. It was enough. The sun climbed higher. The smoke cleared. And Cole stood with Sadie in his arms, surrounded by friends and allies watching as Jasper Blackwood was led away in chains. It wasn't over yet. There would be trials, testimony, legal proceedings, but the worst was behind them. The nightmare had ended, and somehow impossibly they'd survived. The smoke from the Wheeler Ranch burned for 3 days. Cole stood on the steps of the Copper Springs courthouse and watched the last wisps drift across the Texas sky. 3 days since the battle. 3 days since Sadie found her voice. 3 days since Jasper Blackwood was dragged away in chains. It felt like a lifetime. Doc Patterson had patched up Wade Garrett's arm and pronounced him lucky. The bullet had gone clean through without hitting bone or artery. Wade would heal. Whether he'd heal from everything else remained to be seen. Cole's own wounds were minor, cuts and bruises, a burn on his hand from a torch that got too close, nothing that wouldn't mend. Sadie was the miracle. Not a scratch on her beyond the original knife wound, which was healing clean. Doc Patterson said she was one of the toughest patients he'd ever treated. 7 years old and already had more scars than most grown men, but she was talking now. That was what mattered. The words came slowly at first, rusty and uncertain, but with each passing hour, her voice grew stronger, more confident, like she was remembering how to be a child again instead of a ghost. The courthouse door opened behind Cole. Marshal Trent emerged, followed by Clara Mae Thompson and a thin man in a suit carrying a leather satchel. The lawyer, Benjamin Wright. "Mr. Brennan," the marshal said. "We're ready for you." Cole turned. "What about Sadie? She shouldn't have to sit through this." "She's with Mrs. Miller, the school teacher," Clara said gently, "playing with some of the other children. She's fine, Cole. You need to hear this." They led him into a small office on the second floor. The lawyer sat behind a desk and opened his satchel, pulling out documents. "Mr. Brennan," Wright began. He had a precise voice, the kind that came from years of reading contracts aloud. "I represent the estate of Thomas Wheeler. Are you familiar with Mr. Wheeler's will?" "Can't say that I am." Thomas Wheeler died intestate in 1874. However, a codicil to his will was recently discovered among his personal effects. This codicil, dated one day before his death, contains very specific instructions. Cole felt Clara's hand on his shoulder, steadying him. Wright continued. "The codicil states that in the event Mr. Wheeler's death was caused by foul play, and in the event that foul play was later proven, his entire estate should pass to the individual or individuals responsible for bringing his killer to justice." The words hung in the air. "The documents you recovered from the Wheeler Ranch," Wright said carefully, "along with Miss Sadie Parker's testimony and the confession obtained from one of Blackwood's men, constitute proof that Jasper Blackwood murdered Thomas Wheeler. Therefore, under the terms of the codicil, the Wheeler estate passes to you and Miss Parker." Cole stared at him. "I don't want his ranch. I just wanted the girl safe. Nevertheless, the law is clear. The estate consists of 6,000 acres of prime grazing land, the Wheeler Ranch itself, water rights to Wheeler Creek, and various other assets. Total value is estimated at $40,000. $40,000. Cole had never seen that much money in his life. Probably never would. "The ranch burned," Cole said. "The house burned. The land remains. The water rights remain. The value remains." Wright pulled out another document. "However, there is a complication. Miss Parker is a minor. She cannot legally own property. She requires a guardian, someone to manage the estate until she reaches majority." Cole looked at Clara. She smiled. "The court has reviewed your actions, Mr. Brennan," Marshal Trent said. "How you protected the child, risked your life for her, brought Blackwood to justice. We believe you're the right man for the job, if you're willing." "What does that mean exactly, guardian?" Wright explained. "You would have legal custody of Miss Parker, full parental rights and responsibilities. You would manage the estate on her behalf, making decisions in her best interest. When she turns 18, full ownership transfers to her. Until then, you're essentially her father in the eyes of the law." Father. There was that word again. "What if I say no?" Cole asked. "Then the court appoints someone else. The girl goes into an orphanage or foster care. The estate goes into probate. She loses everything." Cole thought about Sadie, about her hand in his, about the way she called him Papa, about the promise he'd made. "I'm just a cowboy," he said. "I don't know anything about raising a little girl or running a ranch." "You know enough," Clara said firmly. "You know how to keep her safe, how to make her feel loved. That's what matters." "And you won't be alone," Marshal Trent added. "Clara's agreed to help. Doc Patterson's offered his services. Half the town's already talking about barn raisings and quilting bees. You've got a whole community ready to support you." Cole looked out the window. He could see Main Street, the general store, the church, people going about their lives, normal people doing normal things. He'd been alone for so long. The idea of being part of a community again felt strange, foreign. But maybe that's what he needed, what they both needed. "All right," he said quietly. "I'll do it. I'll be her guardian." Wright smiled and pushed papers across the desk. "Sign here, and here. Initial, here." Cole signed. His hand shook slightly, but his signature was clear. When it was done, Wright gathered the papers and stood. "Congratulations, Mr. Brennan. You're now the legal guardian of Sadie Parker and the executor of the Wheeler estate. May I be the first to wish you both well." They shook hands. The lawyer left. Cole sat in the chair, feeling the weight of what he'd just done. He'd taken responsibility for a child, for a fortune, for a future he hadn't planned on having. Clara sat beside him. "You did the right thing." "Did I? I don't know the first thing about being a father anymore. Emma died when she was 6. I had her for 6 years, and then she was gone. What if I mess this up? What if Sadie needs something I can't give her? Then you'll figure it out, same as every parent does." Clara took his hand. "Sarah would be proud of you. You know that, right? She'd look at what you're doing, and she'd be so damn proud." Cole's eyes burned. "I hope so. I know so." They sat in comfortable silence. Outside, a wagon rolled past. Children laughed. Life continued. Finally, Cole stood. "I should tell Sadie. She already knows. Doc Patterson told her this morning. She's been waiting for you." Of course she had. That girl was too smart for her own good. They found Sadie in the schoolyard behind the church. She was sitting under a tree with 3 other children drawing in the dirt with a stick. When she saw Cole, her face lit up. "Papa!" She ran to him and threw her arms around his waist. The other children stared. "Papa." The word was out now. No taking it back. "Hey, little one." Cole hugged her back. "You have a good morning. Mrs. Miller taught me numbers. I can count to 100 now. That's real good. And I drew pictures. Want to see?" She pulled him to the tree and showed him the drawings in the dirt. A house, a horse, 2 figures holding hands. "That's us," she explained, "at our new home." "Our home, not my home. Our home." Cole knelt beside her. "You know what the lawyer said about the Wheeler Ranch? It's mine, and you're going to take care of it until I'm big." "That's right. We're going to rebuild the house, make it nice again, live there together, you and me." "That sounds good." Sadie nodded vigorously. Then she threw her arms around his neck and whispered in his ear, "I'm glad you're my papa. My real papa would be glad too. He'd like you." Cole's throat closed up. He held her tight and didn't trust himself to speak. Mrs. Miller, a kindly woman in her 60s, approached. "Mr. Brennan, if it's all right with you, I'd like Sadie to start school next month. She's bright, needs education." "Of course, whatever she needs." "Wonderful. We'll get her caught up. She's already reading at a 4th grade level." Cole looked at Sadie in surprise. "You can read?" "Mama taught me. Before." She trailed off. "Well, that's good. Real good." Cole stood. "Come on. Clara's making lunch. Then we've got some planning to do." They spent the next week in Copper Springs. The trial happened fast. Blackwood's remaining men testified against him to save their own necks. The evidence was overwhelming. The forged documents. The letter from Wheeler. Sadie's testimony about her parents' murder. Wade Garrett's statement about everything he'd witnessed over the years. The jury deliberated for 30 minutes. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced Blackwood to hang. Execution set for 3 weeks hence. Cole didn't attend the hanging. Neither did Sadie. They were already gone by then, headed back to the Wheeler Ranch with a wagon full of supplies and a head full of plans. 3 months later, you wouldn't recognize the place. The burned shell of the house had been torn down. In its place rose a new structure, smaller than the original, simpler, but solid and well built. The whole town had turned out for the barn raising. Even Wade Garrett, his arm healed, had swung a hammer. Cole stood on the new porch and surveyed his work, their work. The house had 2 bedrooms upstairs, a kitchen and parlor downstairs, a real iron stove, glass windows, a sturdy roof that wouldn't leak. It wasn't fancy, but it was home. The sound of hoofbeats made him turn. A rider approached. As he got closer, Cole recognized Wade Garrett, and behind him, riding her own small pony, a little girl with dark hair and serious eyes, Lily Garrett. Wade had sent for her a month ago, brought her up from San Antonio to meet the people who'd changed his life. "Morning, Cole," Wade called out as he dismounted. "Wade, Lily." Cole tipped his hat to the girl. "Good to see you both." Lily smiled shyly. She was 8 years old, quiet and watchful, like her father, but there was kindness in her eyes. "Is Sadie here?" Lily asked. In the barn, helping with the horses, Lily slid off her pony and ran toward the barn. The two girls had become fast friends, spent every moment they could together. It was good for Sadie, good for both of them. Wade tied his horse and walked up to the porch. "Place looks good. You've done well. Couldn't have done it without help, you included." Wade nodded. He looked different now, healthier. The weight he'd been carrying seemed lighter. "I came to say goodbye." Cole's stomach dropped. "You're leaving. California. Like I said I would. Got a job lined up at a ranch outside Sacramento. Honest work. Good pay." Wade paused. "Lily and I, we need a fresh start. Away from all this." "I understand." And he did. Wade had testified against Blackwood, had made enemies. Texas wasn't safe for him anymore. "I wanted to thank you," Wade said, "for keeping your promise, for protecting Lily when I asked, for giving me a chance to be better. You earned it. You saved our lives that day. And you saved mine. Not just at the ranch, before that. When you could have shot me, could have turned me in, you didn't. You gave me a chance to choose." Wade extended his hand. "I won't forget that." They shook. A firm grip. The grip of men who'd faced death together and survived. "You take care of that girl," Wade said. "Sadie, she's special." "I know. And if you're ever in California, look me up. We'll be in a town called Redding." "I'll do that." The girls emerged from the barn, laughing about something. Lily hugged Sadie goodbye. Promises were made to write letters, to visit someday. Then Wade and Lily rode off toward the west, toward California and new beginnings. Cole watched them go and felt something settle in his chest. Wade Garrett had been a bad man who chose to be better, had risked everything to do one good thing, and that one good thing had saved them all. Maybe that's all redemption was. One good choice after a lifetime of bad ones. Sadie came and stood beside Cole. "Will we see them again? Maybe, someday. I hope so. Lily's my best friend. You can write her letters. Tell her about your life here." "I will." Sadie slipped her hand into his. "Papa, can I ask you something? Anything. When do I get to be a real Brennan? Not just Sadie Parker anymore. Sadie Brennan." Cole's heart skipped. "You want that to take my name? You're my papa. I should have your name." "Well then, I reckon we need to make it legal." He smiled. "How about next week we'll go to the courthouse, make it official?" Sadie's face split into the biggest smile he'd ever seen. "Really, really." She hugged him tight. "I love you, Papa." "I love you too, little one." The following Tuesday they rode to Copper Springs. Clara met them at the courthouse. So did Doc Patterson, Sam Walker, and half the town. News had spread about the adoption. Everyone wanted to witness it. The judge was a stern-looking man with white hair and kind eyes. He reviewed the papers, asked Cole a series of questions about his intentions and capabilities, then turned to Sadie. "Young lady," the judge said, "do you understand what's happening here today?" "Yes, sir. Mr. Cole is becoming my real papa, and I'm becoming his real daughter." "And is that what you want?" "More than anything." The judge smiled. "Then, by the power vested in me by the state of Texas, I hereby grant this petition for adoption. Sadie Parker, you are now legally Sadie Brennan. Mr. Brennan, she is your daughter in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of God. Congratulations to you both." The courtroom erupted in applause. Clara was crying. Doc Patterson was grinning. Sam stood silent and approving. Cole lifted Sadie into his arms and held her. His daughter. Legally. Finally. Forever. They celebrated that night at the Wheeler Ranch. The whole town came. There was food and music and dancing. Children ran through the yard. Adults talked and laughed. It was the kind of gathering Cole hadn't been part of in 6 years. It felt good, felt right. As the sun set, Cole found himself on the porch with Sadie. The party continued behind them, but they'd slipped away for a quiet moment. The sky was painted in shades of orange and gold, the same colors as the sunset the night Sarah and Emma died. But it felt different now, not an ending, a beginning. "Papa," Sadie's voice was soft. "Yeah, sweetheart. Do you still miss them, Sarah and Emma?" Cole was quiet for a moment. "Every day. But it doesn't hurt like it used to. It's more like a sweet ache, a reminder of something beautiful I had." "Do you think they're mad that you have me now? Mad no baby? I think they're happy. I think they sent you to me." Sadie pulled out a piece of paper, one of her drawings. She'd been working on it all week in secret. The drawing showed 4 figures, 2 in the background, translucent and glowing. Sarah and Emma. They were smiling, their hands raised in blessing. In the foreground, 2 figures stood solid and real, Cole and Sadie, holding hands, standing in front of a house with smoke curling from the chimney. Below the drawing in Sadie's careful handwriting were words, "Family isn't blood. It's who shows up. It's who stays." Cole stared at the drawing, at the wisdom of a 7-year-old who'd learned more about loss and love than most people learned in a lifetime. "You're right," he said. His voice was thick. "That's exactly what family is." Sadie climbed into his lap, and they sat together watching the sunset. Behind them, music played. Friends laughed. Life happened. And Cole Brennan, who'd spent 6 years waiting to die, felt more alive than he had in a decade. "Tell me a story, Papa," Sadie said. "What kind of story?" "A happy one. About the future. About us." Cole thought for a moment. Then he began. "Once upon a time there was a cowboy who'd lost everything. His wife, his daughter, his will to live. He spent years alone, just waiting for the end. But then one day a brave little girl stumbled into his life. She was hurt and scared and running from monsters. And the cowboy who thought his heart was dead found it beating again." Sadie snuggled closer. "The cowboy and the girl fought the monsters together, and they won. And when the dust settled, they realized something. They'd found each other, not by accident, but because some stories are meant to have happy endings, and this was one of them." "What happens next?" Sadie asked. "Next, they live here, on this ranch. They raise horses. They plant gardens. They go to town on Sundays. The girl goes to school and learns everything she can. The cowboy teaches her to ride and rope and be strong, and every night they sit on this porch and watch the sunset together. And they're happy, the happiest, because they have each other, and that's all that really matters." Sadie was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I like that story." "Me too, sweetheart, me too." The stars came out one by one. The party wound down. Guests said their goodbyes and rode off into the night. Soon it was just Cole and Sadie on the porch wrapped in a blanket, watching the heavens wheel overhead. "Papa." Sadie's voice was sleepy now. Thank you for showing up." Cole kissed the top of her head. "Thank you for finding me." They sat in comfortable silence. The ranch house stood solid behind them, their ranch, their home, filled with possibility and promise. Cole thought about the journey that had brought them here, the pain, the fear, the impossible choices, the moments when death seemed certain and survival seemed impossible. But they'd made it, together. And that meant something. It meant everything. "I had a family once," Cole said quietly. "Sarah and Emma. I loved them more than life. When I lost them, I thought I'd lost everything, thought there was nothing left worth living for." Sadie stirred in his arms. "But I was wrong," Cole continued, "because life isn't about what you lose. It's about what you find. It's about the choices you make when everything falls apart. It's about showing up even when you want to quit. It's about keeping promises even when they cost everything." He looked at Sadie. Her eyes were closed, but he knew she was listening. "My name is Cole Brennan. I'm a cowboy, a father, a man who was given a second chance and didn't waste it. And this little girl sleeping in my arms, she's the best thing that ever happened to me. My daughter, my family, my reason for everything." Sadie's breathing deepened. She was asleep. Cole stood carefully and carried her inside, up the stairs to her bedroom, the room they'd painted together, the bed with the quilt Clara had made, the shelves lined with books and toys. He tucked her in and stood for a moment watching her sleep, this miracle child who'd saved his life by letting him save hers. Tomorrow they'd wake early, feed the horses, check the fence line, maybe ride into town for supplies, all the normal things that made up a life. But tonight, Cole allowed himself to feel it, the gratitude, the wonder, the sheer impossible grace of it all. He walked downstairs and out onto the porch one more time. The night was vast and filled with stars. Somewhere out there in whatever comes after Sarah and Emma were watching. He could feel them. Could almost hear Sarah's laugh, Emma's voice. "I'm okay," he whispered to the darkness. "We're okay. You can rest now. I've got her, and she's got me, and we're going to be just fine." The wind sighed through the trees. A night bird called. The world turned on, and Cole Brennan, who'd been dead for 6 years, was finally completely, wholly alive. He'd come home, not to a place, but to a purpose, a promise, a child who needed him. And that was enough. That was everything. The end.